In the 8th century BC, the kingdom of Judah faced a threat that looked like total annihilation. Just over the horizon, the Assyrian Empire had gathered a military force that was moving steadily toward their gates. Inside the city walls, the psychological atmosphere was one of suspicion and collapse. Political paranoia took hold, as rumors of secret alliances and impending doom turned the citizens against one another. This is what we might call horizontal fear. When humans face an external threat, we instinctively look to those around us, mirroring the panic of the crowd and allowing the dread of our neighbors to validate our own. When the environment is legitimately dangerous, we default to this reflex. We let external threats dictate the terms of our internal reality. The prophet Isaiah stood in the center of this noise with a message that directly challenged the prevailing mood of the city. Isaiah's command was explicit. Do not call conspiracy everything this people calls conspiracy. He told them to refuse the fear of the crowd, commanding them, do not fear what they fear. He provided a different direction for their awe. Instead of looking horizontally at the encroaching armies, Isaiah instructed them to look upward, to reserve their dread and reverence exclusively for the Lord of hosts. Isaiah's message suggests that enduring terror requires shifting the object of our awe. We must move our focus away from worldly threats and toward a higher authority. 7 centuries later, early Christians in Asia Minor were living in a similar psychological pressure cooker. Their danger was social and political. They faced ostracism, false accusations, and the persistent threat of state-sanctioned violence for their refusal to worship the Roman gods. Like the citizens of ancient Judah, these believers were tempted to cave to the horizontal panic of their surroundings. To address this, the Apostle Peter wrote a letter. He didn't offer a new philosophy. Instead, he reached back into the history of Israel's crises to find a way forward. Peter used the historical trauma of the exile and the Assyrian threat to provide the early church with a framework for surviving oppression. Peter pulls directly from the Greek Septuagint, the translation of the Hebrew scriptures used by the early church. This diagram shows how he quotes Isaiah's command word for word, do not fear what they fear. However, in the very next sentence, Peter makes a single precise change. He alters the subject of who the audience should revere. Where Isaiah commanded the people to revere Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, Peter takes that command and replaces it with Christ the Lord. This is an early expression of what theologians call high Christology. By swapping the subject of the sentence, Peter redefines the boundaries of worship. Applying the exclusive, holy reverence meant for the Creator to Jesus of Nazareth is a profound claim. It anchors the identity of Jesus in the highest titles of the Hebrew Bible. This textual edit reveals the convictions of the early church. They were not just following a teacher. They were worshiping Jesus as Yahweh in the flesh. Beyond the theology, this shift functions as a psychological mechanism for survival. This is a form of emotional displacement. As a mind fills with reverence for Christ, it leaves no room for the vibrating anxieties of worldly panic. By intentionally placing Christ on the throne of the heart, the believer breaks the cycle of horizontal fear. In this framework, courage is the byproduct of internal displacement. It is not found by waiting for danger to vanish, but by filling the interior life with something that outweighs the threat. This brings us to the famous second half of Peter's command, the instruction to always be prepared to give a defense, or apologia. Because their fear has been displaced by reverence, these believers carry a hope that remains stable, even in the face of death. This steady hope confuses their persecutors. It provokes questions the believers answer with gentleness and respect, rather than the panic the state expects. This shift in reverence becomes the defense itself. When awe is redirected toward Christ, the dread of the world loses its grip.